And hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough in New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss an initiative addressing a pressing healthcare need of facing critical shortages in primary care providers. After that, we learn about a remarkable program that's designed to empower young people through creativity, leadership, and also community involvement. And then we'll talk about how one children's museum continues to ignite young minds and celebrate the cultural richness of the Bronx. And then next, we'll discuss how one Bronx-based birth center is committed to delivering holistic care through a variety of one-on-one services. And finally, we'll explore key aspects of communication, how different styles can impact relationships, and how understanding your partner's needs can deepen your bond. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm Daren Jaime, and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on throughout the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. And we kick off with transit news. The MTA started handing out warnings to drivers on Monday along 10 bus routes with automated camera enforcement, which is designed to combat illegal parking or blocking of bus stops. More buses in the Bronx are now equipped with the cameras, ticketing drivers who are blocking or double parking bus lanes. The BX28, BX35, and BX38 bus lines have been added to the fleet of more than 600 buses equipped with the automatic camera enforcement. The MTA says the enforcement has helped to increase the bus lane speeds, reduce collisions, as well as improve emissions. Now, since enforcement data began, data shows there's been a 5% increase in bus speeds on enforcement routes and a 20% reduction in collisions. Drivers in violation of bus lane rules will be given a warning in the first 60 days after summonses will be issued, starting at $50 and up to $250 for repeat violators. ACE is now in effect along with 14 bus routes across the city, and buses along these routes actively generate summonses for drivers who are caught blocking or double parking in bus lanes or bus stops. Now, by the end of September, the MTA indicated 1,000 buses in its fleet will be equipped with the new ACE technology. In other news, New Yorkers jaywalking daily without a second thought, but you still could get ticketed. A new push seeks to decriminalize jaywalking through debates over pedestrian safety and driver responsibility have delayed the bill actually in the city council. Now, the proposed law would reflect the common practice of crossing mid-block. However, transportation experts argue the NYPD disproportionately targets people of color when it comes to jaywalking tickets. In 2023, 90% of the 398 tickets issued went to non-white residents, with those numbers already rising in 2024. The bill stalled after amendments were made and still holds pedestrians liable if they don't yield to cars. In health news, the FDA announced and introduced a new rule improving breast cancer screenings and reinforcing existing laws in the tri-state area. While many women know to start mammograms at the age of 40, fewer are aware that those with dense breast tissue need more than just a mammogram. Dense breast tissue increases the risk of breast cancer and makes it harder to detect lumps on mammograms. The new rule mandates mammography facilities to notify parents in writing if they have dense breast tissue. The information will help women understand their cancer risk as well as make informed decisions with their doctors. Supplemental screening options such as ultrasounds or MRIs are recommended for those with dense breast tissue, and are insurance required to cover these additional tests. Well, that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but guess what? We have more open when we return. And we are back. The Nurse Practitioner Fellowship at Montefiore Medical Group is unique in its approach, its comprehensive approach rather, to prepare healthcare professionals, focusing not only on their clinical skills, but also on the broader impact they'll have in medically underserved communities. Joining me now is the Director of the Nurse Practitioner Fellowship in Primary Care at Montefiore Medical Group, Kathryn Tanner. And Kathryn, good to have you.
Nice to be here as well.
Thank you. So this fellowship program actually really deals with helping for much need in our community. Talk to us a little bit about the fellowship program and how it's really benefiting underserved communities.
Yeah. So this fellowship program is to provide new nurse practitioners, new providers with a comprehensive training program so that they have mentorship and supervision for their first year of practice. The overarching goal of the fellowship is to increase access to Bronx patients. And we're doing this by preparing nurse practitioners to be the ones providing this care.
Yeah. So how does it work?
So our nurse practitioner fellows spend 1 year working with experienced clinicians, physicians, and nurse practitioners in the clinics where these clinicians already are working. Mm-hmm. They'll be seeing patients 3 days a week, discussing the care of the patient with a seasoned provider. They're also going to be spending 1 day a week in various specialty rotations, working with experts at the Montefiore Medical Center in nephrology, endocrinology, mental health, getting more experience treating diabetes, hypertension, various disease processes that our communities are disproportionately affected.
Yeah. Talk to me about the hands-on training, because as they get this hands-on training, obviously an asset to, you know, the work that they'll be doing in the future. But when you receive that hands-on training, there is something that comes along that really makes the difference. So how does that hands-on training really lay out?
Yeah. So these are all, all of the nurse practitioners who are in this program are licensed, credentialed, they've gone through their training programs. And this year is meant to increase their confidence by providing them with more clinical skills. So they are seeing patients in the clinic and they're getting expert advice on how to manage these patients, their care. And so we hope that by the end of this training year, our nurse practitioners will have an increased level of confidence. Will continue to be committed to serve in these communities, and they'll just be better prepared providers.
Yeah. And at the core of this too, we're talking about healthcare equity, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of communities, the resources aren't there, the personnel isn't there, but here through this program, things are a little different.
Yeah. We're really training these providers to stay in the Bronx and serve the communities in the Bronx.
Yeah. So we got some social determinants too, right?
Yes.
When it comes to health.
Yeah.
And I wanted to unpack that for a few moments, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about those social determinants, and you incorporate that as part of the curriculum.
Yes. So much of their orientation has been, emphasizing the social determinants of health, thinking about health equity, housing, nutrition. Healthcare doesn't stop when our patients leave the clinic. And so how are our primary care providers sort of thinking about the ways that they're educating patients, incorporating social determinants of health into these plans of care. One of their specialty rotations is going to be working with community healthcare workers. So going out into the field and seeing what patients are dealing with outside of the clinic, what sort of barriers are patients experiencing when they leave the clinic. And this is a really important component to Montefiore's Nurse Practitioner Fellowship, and we hope it'll continue to inform the care that they provide for their entire career.
Give us an inside look as to a new clinician who walks through the door. What's it like for them, and what's the mindset like? Because obviously, there's still some work that needs to be done. You've made a lot of advancement, but I know there's got to be some butterflies and jitters even as a new clinician.
Oh, definitely. And that's really another, large component of this program is to help reduce some of those fears and anxieties. The jump from nurse to nurse practitioner is a big jump. And we hope that this training year will provide these new clinicians with the increase in confidence that they need to stay in this profession.
Yeah. So actually, what was the motivating factor for Montefiore to really decide to do this here?
It's really about expanding access to primary care in the Bronx. We, in the Bronx, along with the rest of the United States, have a shortage of healthcare providers in every field, and specifically in primary care. And primary care, it's preventative medicine. It's the most important part of healthcare, in my opinion.
Right.
And so we need to expand access to primary care, and that is what Montefiore is doing with this fellowship. Really, it's about providing more care to the patients in the Bronx.
Kathryn, as a person with boots on the ground, give us what it's like on the front lines when you don't have those kind of resources, when you don't have the kind of things. How does that affect?
Yeah. I think that when patients don't have access to primary care, then they don't have access to preventative health interventions. And so you see more emergency room visits, more urgent care visits, less ability to, learn about different disease processes early on before they become something that critically affects your life.
Yeah. And so after a student graduates out of this program, where do they go from here?
They stay at Monty.
All right.
Yep.
And so for the students that are actually, I should say the doctors that are actually staying at Monty, it's got to be a good feeling having that opportunity to, do this here and then really carry on and be right in the same place. A win-win of sorts?
100%. I'm very proud of this program. I think that we're really training our peers. The clinicians who are working with our nurse practitioners are going to be their peers as soon as they graduate, and we have a hand in really training them to provide the care that we think is important. Patient-centered care, evidence-based care. This is a huge emphasis of the program.
All right. Before we go, talk about the uniqueness of the program.
Yeah.
And what makes you guys so special, because it is a special program.
Yeah. Our program is unique in that it allows our nurse practitioners to sort of integrate into primary care in a very safe and measured way, so that they are able to really focus on becoming experts in this field, and that they'll be able to provide the best care possible to the patients who really deserve the best care possible.
Kathryn, it's been great having you.
Thank you so much.
Come on back and visit.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, listen, if you want more information, please go ahead, visit the website, MontefioreEinstein.org. There you can find out all that you need to know. Listen, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this, and you don't want to miss. We got a full show.
.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
And we are back. The Oyate group is dedicated to alleviating poverty and empowering underserved communities across the city. And one of the key initiatives, the Rise Leadership Program, offers high school sophomores and juniors the chance to explore their passions and build essential leadership skills. Joining us now is the director of the programs at the Oyate group, Augustina Warton, and we thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So Rise is risen this spring, and
Yes.
the opportunity for leadership and advancement amongst our young people. Talk to me a little bit about the program in terms of what they're getting out of that.
Sure. Yeah. So we started Rise Leadership in the spring as a pilot program. And what we do with the young people is we provide an opportunity for them after school to come to the program and learn leadership skills through arts and civic engagement, design and technology. And we started with about 30 students. And this fall, we're starting the program again, and it will be a full year. And we're going to have 4 different tracks for the program. So we're sort of doubling what we did in the spring and also doubling the amount of time that the program is going to run. So we're really excited.
And for yourself, talk to us a little bit about, the mission of Oyate Group and how this kind of like correlates with the work that you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, so the Oyate Group's mission is, like you said, to alleviate poverty. And we also look around the Bronx and find different gaps in services. And we really, really love to invest in our young people. And so we look to nurture and uplift our youth. That's part of our mission. And so Rise Leadership really centers around that with having the program and focusing it on civically engaged young people, learning leadership skills to be leaders of the Bronx in the future, we hope.
Right.
So,
and I know in this particular program, sophomores, right, juniors are pretty much the focus point.
yes.
And it was intentional to get them around sophomores and juniors for the impact purpose. So
Definitely,
how do
yeah.
you feel that impact is going to play out by using sophomores and juniors and really focusing on them?
Yeah, we want to get them involved with us 10th and 11th grade because they're making those critical life decisions for their future. We want to get them sort of before they apply to college so we can inspire them, show them what's out there, the different careers that they could have one day, and really focus in on that. So then when they get to 12th grade, we can help them with their college applications and get them on the road to where they want to go.
Right. And for young people, taking mantles of leadership early. I mean, obviously
Yes.
that's the focus of it, right? How to become a leader early and really get them going. Talk to us about that, because when you get them involved early, the engagement, how do you see that playing out in their lives in the future with the ones that you've dealt with?
Yeah, I think it's about exposure. The narrative of the Bronx isn't always positive, and so we want to really focus on the assets and the positivity that exists here. So we have 4 different tracks, like I said: the visual arts track, design and technology, business and entrepreneurship, and civic leadership and advocacy. And we want all of those different tracks to align with different career paths and different opportunities that young people can take to really develop themselves and see themselves as people who are going to positively contribute to the Bronx in the future.
And for the students, there's also an opportunity for a stipend.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody heard that. We give
There's a carrot in
yes, we give $100 for each track a month for the students. And that's so hopefully if they have a little bit of pressure in their outside lives to make some money, that this will be a little bit of an incentive to be able to say, hey, look, this program, I'm learning important skills like leadership and creativity or entrepreneurship, and I'm making a little bit of money while doing it. So, yeah.
And when you talk about leadership, it's so critical because I think when we look at society right now, we see a lot of young leaders. Getting them equipped early is really a great thing, but to know that they're out there impacting and making a difference, and to have a program that's out there that allows them to really gain these necessary skills. When you get these young people behind these doors, what's the attitude like? Is there this aversion to leadership, or are you cultivating them to say, listen, you know what, you may not think about leadership right now, but it's a great pathway?
So the way that we've designed the program, I think, is really interesting. We're weaving in leadership skills through a lot of different industries, I would say. So some of that is through arts and civic engagement, like I said. So they're learning leadership skills by learning different visual art skills as well. And they're doing presentations, and they're exhibiting in the community, and they're thinking about issues that are there. So those are all leadership skills, but they're done through an arts-based lens. And we do that also with business and entrepreneurship. Go out into the community, talk to people, find out what their future customers might want from them, and then they develop different products to really speak back to what they learned from their community. So yeah.
And you had a great spring component.
We did, yes.
And so coming up now, we've got what?
So coming up, we have our, we actually expanded to a 4-day program. So each day is a different track, and students can elect to take 1 or 2 tracks, 10th and 11th graders, and the application is open. And so each track pays $100 a month, like we said, and we know that that's a really good incentive for young people. And the application is open until September 29th.
So you have the opportunity now to get in, become a part, and register, and get it all together.
Yes.
What's the criteria? Because somebody say, what do I need to do?
Yeah, so just go to our website and fill out the application. Take some time, really consider the questions. If you don't feel like you're doing as well as in school, if the student doesn't feel like they're doing as well, it's okay. As long as they're really interested in learning and invested in the program, then we'll give them a serious look, and hopefully they get into the program.
Yeah. So when you go back and look back at the spring, what were some of the highlights that you took away from the program?
Yeah, so I can I talk about 2?
Absolutely.
One of them was we took the entire group to Philadelphia, and we had a whole day there. We went to 2 different schools. We went to Temple University, where I went to undergrad.
Okay.
And then we went to the University of Pennsylvania, and so they were able to see the city and 2 different campuses. And then the other sort of highlight of the program was everything is project-based. So the end of the program was in May, and they had an end-of-the-year show. And that was just amazing. They invited different community members, their parents, their friends from school. Some of their teachers came. It was really cool to just be able to have them exhibit what they had worked really hard on. And their theme was transformation. So yeah, it was really amazing to see how sort of shy young people came in, and then at the end they're like, hey, these are my projects, like these are my new friends. I feel like very comfortable here. And yeah, we have a lot of fun with them. So
yeah. So as we get ready to go, I want to talk about one word: exposure.
Yeah.
And that exposure, how do you characterize that in the lives of those that you have come to this program, the exposure that they've received? What do you feel like the takeaway is there?
Yeah, we hire really highly qualified instructors for our program, so they're really connected to New York City. A lot of them are from here, and they have successful careers here, so they're able to really connect and show the young people a lot about what's available here in the Bronx and also in New York City. And I think that exposure is invaluable for them. Just like being able to create a positive relationship with an adult, and then also being able to see, whoa, the city is so much more than I ever thought that it possibly could be. It gives, it turns a light on.
Yeah.
And that is motivation to actually want to be something positive in the future. So.
Augustina, keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
And we want to make sure we get our young people connected. So
Yes.
I'm gonna tell them where they get more information. But congratulations, and we look forward to see what the future holds.
Thank you.
All righty. Listen, now, if you do want more information, go ahead, visit the website, oyategroup.org. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We're going to come back. We got more show coming up right after this.
Hey Creative Family, my name is Timothy Coleman and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
And welcome back. In the heart of the Bronx, there's a place where the magic of childhood comes to life. It's a place that sparks curiosity, creativity, and a lifelong love of learning through some hands-on experiences. The Bronx Children's Museum has been a beacon of possibilities since its humble beginnings as an outreach program, touching the lives of children and families through an initiative, and I should say innovative, educational events. And here now to tell us more is the Executive Director of the Bronx Children's Museum, Denise Adusei. And thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for inviting the Bronx Children's Museum, myself, to represent the museum to your show.
Well, look, you've done some great work. We've had some history with the Bronx Children's Museum,
wonderful.
and glad to have you here with us.
Well, thank you.
And so you have a few programs going on, right?
We
got some
do.
things going on. And so I know the Children's Museum has really been a highlight. And for people who come to our borough, they speak so highly of the experience of coming and visiting. But for somebody who's never been to the Children's Museum, before we do anything, tell them about it.
Absolutely. So the museum is a place for children to come and explore and also learn about the Bronx. Our museum can't be picked up and brought to anywhere else. We celebrate the Bronx. So when a child comes in, they can go to our waterway, which is a replica of the Harlem River. They can play in Harlem River, and right outside is the Harlem River. We can go into the casita and pretend play, barbecue, create a garden, and also work on their executive function. Or we can go into the book bodega and take out a book. The Bronx has one book to every 259 kids. And 70% of third graders are not reading at the level that they should. And so we made sure that one of our exhibits highlight that, and we give out free books to every child that walks in. The first art children see is in a children's book.
Right.
And so we want kids to really appreciate that and also develop a love of learning and reading.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that really stands out for me is that people walk away with this great cultural experience. You know a little something about the Bronx, but then also you get acclimated to our arts, in a new kind of way, in an interesting kind of way.
Yeah, so every single artist in our ABC collection is from the Bronx or connected to the Bronx. And so we feature Andre Trenier, who has about 34 murals throughout the Bronx. So we made sure we put his mural inside our museum. We've also worked with him to create a celebration of the Yankees right outside our door as well. So whenever anyone drives by our museum, they're going to see Derek Jeter, they're going to see CeCe Sabathia looking at them. And that was something we worked with the Yankees on.
Beautiful, beautiful. And for kids who come in after school, I know there's an after school program too.
Yeah, so we're developing that. So
Okay.
we're going to be installing a new tech center, and that's for our older kids. And so that's for them to explore design and digital art. The museum was originally developed for kids who were 0 to 9, but there's a gap between the Bronx Children's Museum and the Bronx Museum. So we want to make sure that our teenagers and our middle schoolers, they know that the Bronx Children's Museum is for them too. We had a wonderful program this summer where we had interns who came in, and one of our interns said, "This was the most amazing experience I've had. I've never been inside a museum. Forget working in a museum." And he thanked us for that experience, and he asked, "Can I bring my little brother next time?"
Wow.
Yeah, and so the answer was absolutely.
That's great. When I think about the Bronx, we think about there's such great parkland that we have. I mean, it's we're the borough parks. I mean, there's so many parks. But then also with the parks, there's been this talk about, you know, environmental justice is being done, because there's so much injustice being done in our parks. That's another show, another time, all by itself. But the reality is there's this environmental awareness that needs to occur. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I know that rings true with you as well.
Absolutely. So the Bronx is the greenest borough. We
Right.
have the largest greenest area in New York City, and most people don't know that. But we celebrate that in the museum. When you come in, you can play in our Beavers Lodge and build out a Beavers Lodge. We also have a program called Nature of the Bronx, where we go into schools and we give them and we work with the kids and give them tours of Orchard Beach, Van Cortlandt Park. We bring them to the Bronx Zoo. We bring them to the New York Botanical Gardens. So we're not just giving people a tour of our museum, we're giving people a tour of the Bronx.
Right.
Because we feel like when children think about their borough, they should be proud of it and they should know what's here. And so we're an educational institution, but we're also about having lots of fun and making it a magical experience for our kids.
Yeah. And my last segment, I talked about exposure, and I think this can parallel here too, because there is a level of exposure that kids are getting, because sometimes kids from their community don't really go and venture out. But when you come to the museum, you get to see, hey, there's, you know, we've got Mott Haven, we've got Riverdale, we've got the Parkchester, we've got Throgs Neck, Co-op City. Somebody's going to email me and say I left their I got you. The Bronx.
Yes.
You know, there's so many parts of the Bronx out there.
And we haven't left them out. We haven't left them off at all. So when you come into the museum, you can also we have a map on the floor of the entire Bronx, and you can see all the wonderful places you can visit. So when you come into the Bronx Children's Museum, you're going to learn about our culture here, and you're going to find out where you can go next.
Yeah.
And we want our kids to know there are so many wonderful opportunities here in the Bronx. We have a vibrant culture, we have wonderful families, and we're a children-friendly borough.
Talk to me about this, because I've often said on this show, one of the problems that I have with our educational system is the things that we do. And one of the things we do is we like to cut arts and music, sports. Those are the first things that usually get cut out of the budget. But without the arts, you know, there's so much that people have the, you know, potential to miss. And particularly in the lives of young people who really become stimulated so much by the arts.
So the arts is how children learn. So when a child is painting, they're working on the fine motor skills and the strength to be able to hold a pencil and write your name. When a child is putting a puzzle together and also selecting materials, they're problem solving. They're learning their colors, and we're learning our shapes through arts. And so this is how children learn. So it makes sense for us to invest in our museum and invest in the arts, because that's how a child's brain is wired.
Right.
So painting turns into writing. And so if we want them to be able to sign their name or be able to write one day, they have to first paint. Singing practices verbal skills. All of those arts are so important for our education.
Well, you took some art and did some things here too. Put it to work. Here we got a book, and talk to us about this book, because it's very special.
Absolutely. So by day I'm the executive director of the Bronx Children's Museum. And by night I'm also an author.
Okay.
So I just released my first children's book on June 4th, and it's about a deaf girl who wants to dance in Carnival. We know that we have a significant Latin American and West Indian community here in the Bronx. My book reflects that. And so it is Deaf Awareness Month and also Latin American History Month. And so we are celebrating at the Bronx by giving away my book. And so please come by the museum, get a copy, and learn more about our borough.
And awesome. So as we talk about this book, how long did it take you to get to make?
So I signed my book deal in 2019. It took a little bit of time. COVID slowed up a lot of things in publishing, but but it was also working with such a wonderful illustrator. It was her first time illustrating a children's book. She's also deaf, and so I wanted authenticity in this book and also giving opportunities to deaf artists. And so we worked together and we got her first book illustrated out.
Amazing, amazing. So all you have to do is what? How do they get the book?
They can go to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, any local children's bookstore, and you can find the book there. But I'm really proud. For me, at the museum, we say we exhibit possibilities, illuminate pathways, and celebrate all children. And one way to do that is by being what you say you are, or the possibilities children can be. And so for me, being an artist is very important for kids to see that people like them can be artists, can be executives. And so when you walk into a museum, you're going to see the Bronx reflected in the art and also in the people who work there.
So we get the executive and then we get the author when you come to the Bronx Children's
Exactly,
Museum.
absolutely.
Denise, pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, listen, I want you to know if you want more information, visit the website at bronxchildrensmuseum.org. Encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back coming up with more Open right after this.
Thank you.
And we are back. In response to a growing need for better maternal health outcomes for women of color, a new wellness center is opened in the Norwood section of the Bronx. Now, born out of the grassroots organizing, the center aims at addressing maternal mortality crisis affecting Black and brown families in New York. Joining me now is the co-founder at Maryam Reproductive Health Wellness, Myla Flores, and we've got you here with us, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
This is really a very important topic because when we talk about reproductive health and wellness, obviously, there's so many people who are women who are really struggling and dealing in this area, and you guys are really, aiming to really close that gap.
Truly. When we think of the positionality within the United States, one of the most resourced countries, yet having some of the worst outcomes when it comes to experiences and some of the maternal health crisis that many of us already know about. Some of us don't. We aim to nurture the Bronx as a result of New York City being so much more impacted. So the Bronx within New York City, within New York State, within United States, we want to center a borough that is significantly under-resourced, yet put together the collective maternal health professionals who are interested in solving this problem, who are local, and many of which are rich in so much knowledge, education, passion from OBGYNs, midwives, nurses, who have come together, doulas, childbirth educators, all with and for and really multilingual in ways that want to expand the resources and access to community-led reproductive GYN care and a plethora of other wellness services.
Yeah, I got a friend, we've actually grown to become friends, who's actually introduced me to the fact of infant mortality. I was sitting around dealing with a panel, and they asked me to come and be a part of this discussion. And as there, I became really familiar with the fact of how much infant mortality affects communities of color, and the whole process that you sometimes talk about with, these maternal challenges that many people don't know about, but communities of color sometimes face in quiet and private. And I want to get your take on that because, there is this crisis out there that sometimes people aren't speaking about or can hear as loudly. And from your lens, how are you addressing that? Because I know that's a part of your mission as well.
So one of the things you brought up earlier, you talked about social determinants of health. And when we think about the context within New York and individuals of color, Black individuals who are experiencing racism and a range of different contributions to their experience, when we look at the individual as a whole person and not just someone who is pregnant with a baby right now, but when we think of the span of the reproductive experience from menstruating to then being in preconception to then being pregnant and then postpartum, we are seeking to fill that gap of improving the experience of individuals who can know more about their bodies well in advance of being pregnant. So one snippet of the different community education and programs we have is a youth program where we've had teens through their early 20s coming to Maryam, learning and having conversations that are not normally had in their schools. And sometimes they're like, learning about like their fertility in ways that it's not about let's get pregnant. It's about how does your reproductive system work? What kind of ways can you feed into your health now, regardless of if you choose to have a baby? And one of the things that I'm inspired by is some of the commentary on just having accurate information coming from young people, which isn't very common. And so it's one of the concerns that a lot of parents have had, and they've brought their kids over to the womb bus, which is like part of our journey towards creating a birth center. We had the womb bus, and now we have this wellness clinic, Maryam, which we're talking about now, and then the future birth center. But one of the parents had said, it's really nice and refreshing to know that my child is coming home talking about some of these topics. And then she brought her parent in to have an STI screening, which she hadn't had in like many years. So like the thought of the generations having knowledge on some of these important topics, I feel is going to impact infant health because we're talking about healthier bodies.
Right. I think you tapped into what I was going to talk about because I wanted to get to the place of conversations. Sometimes it's hard to have conversations as a parent with your child, and some people don't know what to say, don't know how to say it, but it's almost like, you're the middle person here, that you're able to actually help someone, a young person be able to have that conversation and then subsequently go back home, and a parent also to be able to say, listen, and you just gave a great example. And I think that's one of the things that, you could say that's a plus is that the generations have the opportunities to now learn, talk about reproductive health, wellness in ways that we weren't having necessarily.
Totally, and we did an activity before starting this program, and we've had 2 groups of youth where we were asking Bronx natives, like, tell me about your sex education, and the things that they would say just was obvious that we need more, and tell me what kind of education you would hope for, what you would want for our generations to come. And that's what helped inspire this. And, one of the other comments from one of the young individuals who's non-binary was, not feeling comfortable necessarily talking about their period. And then by the end of the program was totally like, wow, I'm glad that we talked about this because now I'm more aware of my emotional life before, during, and after, and I can give myself a little grace because I notice and I think something's up with my mind sometimes, but when in fact I can actually make observations that I wasn't normally able to before, connected to my menstrual cycle.
Interesting to find out, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got some things happening, and I want to be able to talk about a couple things. You got the Uptown Love Down event, and talk to us about that.
Okay. Yes, the Uptown Love Down event is a community event where we are taking the opportunity to pour into families, pregnant and postpartum. Some of the awesome grassroots organizations that are focused on parents and family have joined hands to create an event that's going to be at Motley Kitchen, and we're excited. We have 200 spots and a few left, and we're going to have massage, raffles, gifts. We're going to have midwives there who are helping people hopefully get a better understanding of the position of their baby. And Maryam's going to be totally repping there with some of our massage therapists present, and Bronx Rebirth, Ashe Birthing Services, Earth Grounds. We have like a really dope group of people who are putting this together, and what we're proud of about it is that we commonly are participating as like one small part of something that has so many organizations that we don't even know, but like this is all BIPOC-led reproductive health organizations that said, let's do this. And so it's September 29th.
We'll make sure people are getting out there to check it out.
Yeah.
It's been great having you.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll appreciate you stopping through, and want to let you know, if you want more information, please visit the website at maryam.com. Don't go anywhere. We talk about now relationships. Coming up right after the break.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet community media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Well, communication is at the heart of every relationship. It's more than just exchanging words. It's truly about understanding, connecting with each other. And healthy communication builds trust, resolves conflicts, and it also deepens emotional bonds, and it allows couples to navigate life's highs and lows together. Here now to tell us more is author, relationship expert, Shauntay L. Dunbar, and she is back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Listen, I'm going to tell you this before we get started. I was in the airport not too long ago, and somebody was talking to us about the segment that we did.
Oh.
So just know that people know. And they were saying, I know that lady diving in stilettos. Oh, my God.
Well, that's good to know.
So that's good to know. So
Yeah.
keep up the great work.
Thank you.
So listen, we always hear this conversation. You got to communicate. Okay, we got to communicate. All right, so let's go ahead and communicate.
Okay.
Because effective communication really is
Yeah.
going to be the key to a relationship.
Absolutely.
But we always hear that line, we got to communicate. So where are we going wrong, girl?
And, we're not communicating effectively, right? There are so many different components to it. So It's, you know, our body language. Like, are we looking at the person in the eye? Are we facing them? Are we nodding in agreement? Are we saying no? Are we making funny faces? Are we like fidgety, uncomfortable, right?
We're on our phone.
Are we on our phone?
Right.
And then some of the communication is nonverbal, right? Sometimes, you know, you want to express yourself, but the words just aren't flowing, so you might want to write it down or send a text or email, like dating myself. Send an email. And then it's just, you know, being able to listen. Active listening is a major part of it, right? Am I asking you questions when I'm unsure and I'm, you know, maybe confused about something? Am I trying to follow up to understand you better? So, you know, listening is also a very big component that people tend to, like, you know, put to the wayside because they're like, I want to get my thoughts out. I want to say what I want to say. And it's like, oh, did you hear me?
Right. Because the big thing is people will listen to speak and not listen to listen.
Absolutely.
So I'm just waiting for you to finish so I can say what I got to say.
Exactly.
Right.
And then, you know, tone obviously plays a great factor in there. Sometimes your words can get lost in translation because I don't like how you said that.
Exactly.
So now we're just not getting anywhere because I'm so focused on how you said it versus what you said. And that's a lot of confusion.
Yeah. What are the common misunderstandings that people like that you hear about mostly?
It's a listening. It's what you said and what I heard, right? So I didn't mean to say it that way. Yeah, well, you know what? That's what I heard you say, and I didn't like it. And then, you know, we match energies sometimes, and that's not always a good thing. Sometimes you just need to not engage. Like, you're at a level 10. I'm gonna let you calm down. I'll be over here and take a beat, and we'll revisit.
Right.
Yeah.
What about silence? How good is silence to this whole thing?
Well, you know, you don't want to give the silent treatment, right? Because that's not effective communication.
No.
But, you know, you also want to give somebody grace to be like, okay, you know what, you're having a moment right now, and I don't like what you're saying, or I don't like how you're saying it, so maybe we can just take a moment, silence, just go to our corners.
Right.
And then come back when we've calmed down and we're able to really, like, hear each other.
Because the really highly successful relationships are the ones that have to navigate and overcome conflict resolution.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it extends so much further than that. I mean, I think there'd be a whole lot more or less killing if we had less conflict resolution. But the reality is we got killings, we get arguments, we got violence that simply cannot and it starts in these relationships. So what are we doing here now? How do we get out of this place of conflict resolution?
Well, you know, the big thing and the big term that's going around right now is emotional intelligence, right?
God,
so when we talk about emotional intelligence, what does it mean really? And it's more so about like self-awareness, right? Like, why am I triggered by this? What's bothering me? And then self-regulation. How am I fixing it when I feel this way? Am I projecting on someone else, or am I really sitting back and be like, okay, you know what? This happened to me before. It's not you. Give me a minute, right? And then there's also motivating people. It's having empathy, giving people grace. You know, I don't know what happened to you the night before. Like, maybe your energy is a little off. I'm going to give you some time to, like, you know, regulate yourself. And then there's also social skills. Can I read a room? Right? Do I know the tone? Like, what's going on in the conversation? So, you know, emotional intelligence, yes, is big. And everyone's like, oh, you need to be emotionally intelligent. But it's like, so do you.
Right. I feel like now I've studied it for a while, right? But I feel like people are just now getting up on it.
Yeah,
so they feel like they want to, like, you know, make you feel like, well, you got the. I'm like, but you need to have this emotional intelligence a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, you know, long before it became a thing, emotional intelligence was a thing.
Yes.
But it's killing so many people because the EQ, which I tell people, is just as important as the IQ.
That's right.
Because you can have the IQ and be the most finest, you know, smart. But if you ain't got no EQ, baby, I got to go. It's just the truth.
True.
Facts.
Honest. And if more people were honest that way, it would be less violence in the world.
We do this all the time.
Every time.
But you know, it's so true because there is no emotional intelligence sometimes when people lack it and they find themselves in a place where it just goes down the wrong path.
It goes left because they're just not taking the time. They're not giving grace.
Right.
And they're acting on impulse, which is like such a horrible thing to do in any type of relationship. You know, work, anywhere. It's like being self-aware, knowing like, okay, this is a trigger for me. I'm going to pull back. Give me a minute. Let me take my space. It's very helpful.
Very, very. Talk to me about the love languages. We've talked about this before, right? But there's so many out there, and people have to pay attention to them. And if you don't pay attention to them, they can be harmful to your health.
Yeah. What they say, right?
Right.
But the cool thing about the love languages is that they change in ranking depending on what's going on in your life, right? So like everyone, we have all 5 of them, you know, acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, gifts, physical touch, right? But it may change. Your first ones could be acts of service and quality time. If you do something for me, it allows me to have more time to spend with you.
Right.
Then there's sometimes a pandemic happens and you realize I'm a hugger and I need to hug somebody. So now physical touch went from the bottom to maybe number 1 now. So I always encourage people to take the quiz and find out. People think they can analyze themselves and figure it out. But, you know, taking the quiz is literally like 5 minutes. You can Google it. And see where you're at. You may be surprised. Like a little word of affirmation may take you a lot further than, you know, somebody doing something for you. Yeah,
trying to help you, man.
You're doing a great job, Daren.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. But the other part to that is that the languages change as the years go on, right? So what could be your language at 30 is not your language at 40.
Absolutely. It's your environment, right? Your outside environment, internal things are happening. You know, your body's changing. You have different needs.
Right.
And being self-aware will help you, you know, be able to communicate effectively with people and, you know, just be a good person overall.
Try it.
Try.
Just try it. It might work.
Yeah.
You got this lovely book here. I got to talk about it. Okay. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank
yes.
you.
She got the green ones out there, too.
I agree. I'm not wearing my green shoes today, but this is my book, Diving in Stilettos First, Memoirs of Dating Mr. Right Now. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible.
Okay.
I'm reading it. It's my voice telling you the stories about my dating life in New York City, growing up in the Bronx.
And we got to get you, listen, if you have not been on her social media, it is a holla. I mean, it's a holla. You just got to go. Tell them where to go on social media.
So on Instagram, it's diving_in_stilettos_first. And you can find me on TikTok, Shauntay Dunbar. And I'm on Facebook. Yeah, I'm all over.
And people are, listen, people are checking it out. I'm telling you, I'm here I am in the airport. I'm like, we're not talking about politics. People are like, oh, that segment did on, really? Okay, so listen, they paying attention.
Love it, love it.
Now we need to make sure. Now that we need to make sure you understand how to effectively communicate. Right? You gotta talk to me.
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for
gotta have
having
you back.
me.
We gotta unpack some more of this at another time. So I'm gonna tell
Absolutely.
Latricia make sure we get you back soon.
I would love that.
Shauntay Dunbar, our guest here. Listen now, if you want more information, if you want to find out how to effectively communicate, to navigate conflict, just go to the website, divinginstilettosfirst.com, and there you get all the information that you need. Listen, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, the viewer for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, catch the Recablecast, Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files, Channel 2133, or watch us anytime on the web. We're there, y'all, BronxNet.org. Now, you want that brand new episode? Friday, my girl Rena Valentin, Cafe con Leche, is what she will tell you. This wraps up this episode. For us, I am Daren Jaime saying, listen, make sure to keep this channel wide open. You say take care. God bless. See you soon.